What do you do? Sorry, all live now. Good morning.
Welcome one and all to our Teviot Valley Community Board meeting Thursday, 13th June 2024. First item on the agenda, apologies. We have one from Sally Heineman and one from Mark Jessup. And I move that those apologies be accepted. Can I have a seconder, please?
Yeah.
All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Carried. Do we have any speakers in the public forum? No speakers in the public forum. I'll take that the minutes of the previous meeting have been read and accepted by members. Move that those minutes be accepted. Second that. Awesome, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Carry. Once again, I just remind you of your declarations of interest and whether you have any conflict of interest in the meeting agenda. Please raise that now. There are no declarations to be made. I don't need to. No. Right, item 24.4.2, continuing districtisation of council activities.
Thank
I
you.
believe Saskia, it's up to you.
Thank you.
Lead us through that.
Good morning, members. So what you have in front of you is a form of paper, is the material that was presented in the workshop last week. So it was having this really on formal record. So I won't go through it all, given that we went through it last week. Obviously, more than happy to take any questions you have at this stage. But really what this paper does outline is opportunities for engagement from the board with council around your view of the proposal. We're very keen to get the view of this board to feed that into the decision being taken on the 31st of July. Obviously, that's completely up to the board whether you want to take that opportunity or not. We did hear loud and clear from our community boards through the delegation conversation earlier this year that we didn't really enable a proper mechanism for the board's views to be adequately heard. So through this process, we're hoping that there are better avenues there. So you'll see in the recommendations there, we are inviting the chair or delegate to the 26th of June council meeting and essentially just to provide sort of initial thoughts or questions the board has, concerns, etc. And then if the board wishes to write a formal statement of your view by the 8th of July. So I will hand it over to the board for any questions. Right.
I think that we're all well aware that we are short 2 members of our board at this meeting, and we will be short of those members until the beginning of July. So we are going to be under the pump to respond as we through. I've had feedback from Councillor Heineman and Member Jessup supporting that we do participate further in the discussions. But again, the time frame for response is not in our favour. So, and of the understanding there is no movement in that time frame.
So what the board could consider doing, so following the feedback on the delegations, the 8th of July deadline enables staff to actually consider your statement and put it in the thinking for the paper. If the board literally could not make that time, what we would still could do by the following week is still have your submission attached. It just might be that we haven't given it due consideration within the actual content of the paper, but council would still see your position. So that is an option for the board. But if you'd like it truly considered by staff, that's the 8th of July deadline. So there's still an option to attach it later.
Absolutely. If you could ask to take up one of the community board spots to come and talk if you felt that would tidy
I
up.
think it's due in July anyway.
May, June, yes, actually. So don't even have to make a special effort.
Okay.
A date when the agenda will go out. So in effect, the board could have up until Friday the 19th of July. That would work, wouldn't it, Sarah? We could still attach your written statement to the paper.
So what date is the council meeting?
So the council meeting is Wednesday the 31st of July. So the government team, the week will prepare the agenda, and Friday the 19th of July is sort of getting pretty close to the point where the CEO is approving the paper.
Yeah.
Including the agenda. We can accommodate it that way.
It's more gathering the input from the members as opposed to writing it.
Yeah, given that understood. Yeah.
Not readily accessible until start of July. Okay. You got any comments, Joe?
No, not really. I
Yeah.
think what we discussed in private time is the way to go, and
Russell?
No.
Okay. So, purpose of the reports consider further districtisation of council activities and agree how the TVCB will provide feedback. And this is spelled out in the recommendations that we receive this report and accept the level of significance, to consider further districtisation and how the Teviot board will provide feedback to council, and agree the chair or delegate will attend the workshop to provide informal feedback from the board on the 26th of June. And they agree to provide written feedback, as we just discussed, by July the 8th or potentially the 19th. We can just pass on that.
Are you happy that I leave it? It's July the 8th. Would you like to amend?
I think it's fine, because it might, you never know, you might meet that date, but acknowledging that we will accept it up until the 19th of July and attach it. It just would give it the time for that due consideration in the writing of the paper.
I think we leave the target there.
Yes, so it would be preferable, because what we can do is we can actually put in the text. Obviously, we'll attach verbatim your submission, but we can actually incorporate the board's thinking actually within the paper. So that will be missing if it's after the 8th of July.
Okay. Well, essentially, we have to be done by the 26th of June anyway.
The 26th of June is just really an opportunity for initial thoughts. It's not the board's position. It's really an opportunity to come up to council and say, these are our questions about it. This is what we like about it. This is our initial thinking of concerns we have about it. So it's not actually by the 26th of June. It's not your board's, this board's formal position at all. It's just an opportunity for sort of informal conversation at that point.
Okay. Right. So if we I move a motion that we accept the recommendations as stated, A, B, C and D. Do I have a seconder for that, please?
I'll second it for you.
Thank you, Jill. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Carried. Right, the next item on the agenda, thank you Saskia. Local Government New Zealand Community Board Conference 2024.
I'll just talk to this for a moment. So it's just a simple paper to canvass interest from the board for anyone who would like to attend the LGNZ Community Board Conference, which is held in Wellington this year on the dates of Wednesday 21st to Friday 23rd, and it's as part of the wider annual NZ conference, for which Sally is already attending in her council. We do have budget for one community board member to attend. So there is capacity for someone around the table to go, given that Sally is already in attendance. So, there is good representation from the team.
Thank you. And we've had a brief discussion on members only time, and while there is interest in from attending, I think the general consensus that Sally's representation at the conference will be suffice for us. Any comments, Russell?
I'm
It costs 2,000 basically to attend, 1,000 for airfares, 1,000 to attend the conference. Is it really worth it?
When we've got someone else going. Yeah.
So this year's local government conference was based around localism. Is that the theme of it?
There's a number of different themes being addressed. I mean, that all relate to kind of issues that we've got around the table, to community board, but localism is the headline thing. Okay.
Okay, so as I understand, we have an option, but we do need to nominate someone today. We'll take up that option today.
You don't need to nominate an additional person if you're comfortable with Sally's candidate. Then we can decline the opportunity for that.
Do we need to take that option today? To decline it today?
No, the early bird registration is open till Friday, the 12th of July.
Aye.
Yes, and you won't meet it prior to that, so.
And things like EPs and all that only just go up and up. So if the board did want to send someone, it would be better to get that early bid pricing and obviously earlier flights as well.
Okay. So decision day this today.
If you would just want to see Sally, you just need to receive the report.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, if you were just wanting Sally to go, then just receive the report and don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to go. I'm quite interested in going. And like I said, I'd South London want to take it from the board. $1,000.
I think it
Just
probably
have a sleep on it. Mm.
probably would be a bit closer, I think, to the time we added in your accommodation.
Accommodation, that'd be.
To be honest, Joe, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with you attending on our behalf.
I would just be an observer.
understand.
I would be an observer. I'd like to see how they go through their localism as well.
And I think that Sally can well represent, and I wouldn't support within being represented by itself.
That's fine with her. I'm quite comfortable with that.
So at this stage, I'll suggest that we receive the report and accept its level of significance. Can I have a seconder for that, please?
Oh, good.
And that we don't send another member on the board
Sally.
to the
Yeah.
conference.
Yeah.
Well,
So you, just to be clear, you're seconding that.
Yeah, I second it, yeah.
Yeah. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Carried. Thank you. Item 24.4.4. Donna, welcome.
I take the paper as being read. For the first 9 months ending the 31st of March, there was an overall favourable variance of $36,000. Of this, there was an $84,000 favourable variance in revenue, which is being driven by internal interest on your surplus reserve balances and rates. So the rates value variance is a matter of timing, and this will be wrapped up at the end of the year, so that will disappear. The expenditure has an unfavourable variance of $48,000. This is due mainly to your contracts, which is higher than budget, and is due to the resolutions you've passed on both the replanting of the Roxburgh Forestry block and also the tree removal at the Roxburgh Pool. That variance being approved will drop out, be paid for out of the surplus reserve balance at the end of the year. Capital.
Sorry, I'm confused. I think 1 or 2 meetings ago, we approved the expenditure of, I think, $22,000 to remove the trees down by the pool and by the elderly person's housing. Great idea. And the funding was supported and supposedly coming out of surplus funding from the Grover Hill project, as it was called.
Forestry block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're reporting that there's been an over expenditure in that planting. Is that what I'm reading?
No, so it's the same expenditure that you have approved, but of course that approval of the approved additional spend outside of budget doesn't show through in your budget figures for the year, but they will show through in your actual expenditure. So
Right.
we will follow through with your resolution. We've got the funding sitting in your reserves as a surplus, and that will drop there at the end of the financial year to pay for it. It just shows as an overspend looking at your actuals to your budget.
Right.
And that's just a measure of it's been approved outside of that.
So if I'm following that, then the expenditure of the $21,000 or $22,000, I can't recall the number.
Yeah.
It came out of a suggestion by Gordy to say that we had money left over.
That's right.
So that money was I think $118,000 by,
15.
yeah, then we had the replanting was 81 or something like that.
77, I think.
Yeah. So that 118 went back to reserves though. Right, okay, so that's the key bit.
Yes.
To be honest,
Yeah,
but,
but the key bit is this, you do have the reserve balance there to pay for them.
yeah.
Yeah, additional expenditure.
I'm sort of only curious because we've also got, in the last meeting, we decided that we were going to not mow verges, and there was $20,000 to be saved. And we reported here a $58,000 overspend, which would have sucked that up straight away.
Yes.
In the next financial year. So I think we need to be sort of mindful of how this whole process works with reserves in expenditure, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I mean, I don't know the exact balance, but you know, the 115, there'll be a little bit of credit remaining there, you know, for the board to consider on future projects, you know. So,
Yeah, and that's what.
and I think just to your point, and given the times that we're in, it's really good to have, you know, really due consideration on those things. Yeah.
And I guess that sort of, when you look at the other discussions that we're having around districtisation of this area in particular, I mean, that's the parks and reserves, and which is very well represented in that table of figures there. The influence in the big picture is quite insignificant. Although it sits with the board, there's not a lot of expenditure or influence in outcomes. That makes sense. All right.
Just to finish off the report, your capital expenditure is underspent, so there's a overall variance of 464,000. Most of this is due to the Roxburgh Entertainment Centre, so I believe that the work is either underway or not quite started just yet, and that budget will be carried forward to pay for that in the final crop of this financial year.
It is underway. The fire protection part of it is underway.
We're spending a lot less on it though, aren't we, than what was originally, like, was it earthquake proofing?
Yeah, well, there was
Quite a, isn't it $300,000 moved out of the earthquake proofing through?
I'd have to go back and look at the numbers specifically, but I know that the work that was initially programmed for the earthquake strengthening wasn't needed. The budget was reallocated out of the LTP and brought forward for the fire protection work to be carried out.
So will the fire protection work eat up that same amount of money? Or?
There's a significant amount of maintenance work to be done too on the building. I don't know whether that comes out of the same pot or.
And some of it will be coming out of that pot. And of course, there's also within the older buildings, there's also the unknowns. So as they sort of get started and we move towards doing our carry forward of our capital project from this year into next year, we'll be able to make a better assessment on what the remaining costs will be.
And that's Breen's doing that work, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. So the back wall, the south wall of the town hall has got some significant rock issues.
Yeah.
Which they've found have extended under the stage. So they've got to get in under the stage and bring some resolution. It's called black rot.
Yeah.
And they found spores of black rot under the stage, which we don't have to leave. So they're doing that work September, October time.
Does that mean replacing wooden bits and pieces, or does it mean spraying it down with something serious? So
Some of that's
be treated.
yeah,
Yeah.
that remains to be treated, but they need to remove the rock.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
That was all I was going to say. So actually, if there's any questions for me, we have been sharing through the report. So I'm sure you've got some more.
I haven't got any.
I'm pretty happy with what I see there. Russell?
No. Well, I attend the community garden and it's, you've got very few members left. So, you know of anyone who feels like doing a bit of work and getting free vegetables, send them along.
Bring that up in your members report there, Russell.
Right?
You can advertise for the community garden during your members report.
Oh, I thought that's what you were asking. Oh, sorry.
So we could ask to consider this report and just receive it. So move that we receive the report as it's presented. Can I have a seconded, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jill. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. Carried. Thanks, Donna. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Norm. Not a huge amount to report. Obviously, a lot of time has been spent with the annual plan since we last saw you. I've had a really abysmal run of not being able to make the Roxburgh Business Group meetings, which included yesterday, unfortunately, but I see the next one's on the 10th of July. And touch for Micah, at this stage, I will be able to meet that one. Mayor's Task Force for Jobs has been in operation for the last few months across the district. That's an appointed coordinator working with NEETs, who are people not in employment, education or training, aged between 16 and 24, to get them into employment, and of course with potential employers to find the opportunities with them. And I can report at this stage, it's been one success story in the Teviot Valley, with a young person informing me yesterday that they had gained employment through the program, which is just wonderful news, because it's not often that you get to transform or have part of, a very small part of transforming a lot, but it was still just made me just so happy. So that really is it for today.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. I'll move that we accept Tim's report.
Is that the rest home?
I don't want to go into the details on the public space, but
Okay.
I can tell you later.
I had a happy conversation with them.
Nice.
I was seconded for that motion.
I'll send.
Thank you, Russell. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say nay. Carried. Right, Chairman's report. I think we've been quite busy the last reporting period with the attending meetings around and responding to queries around the annual plan. Attended the drop-in session that we had. Interesting to see how many people turned out. It was a good session that we had with Mark and myself and Sally and Tim were there, and it had David. Were you there? No. David and who else was there? Christina and two other councillors.
Tracy Patterson and Sarah Brown.
Yeah.
Came down. Yeah.
So we had quite a strong representation of elected members across the district, and I think it was pretty well received. You know, that we'd put such an effort into it. And again, the key messages for us were based on rate increases, and what we are, and one of the key questions I got was, what are we doing to reduce the rates, reduce those increases? And of course, we're not in a position to respond to that, unfortunately. I attended two business breakfasts, including one yesterday. There's been some good outcomes over the last couple of meetings with, I guess, functions that or events that the business group are looking to hold in the community. So there's a little bit of sort of momentum being generated there, rather than just sitting around and and I guess giving updates on what's going on. So that's good to see. Rest home meetings and entertainment centre meetings, and the weekend of that submissions closed on the annual plan, I was inundated with people dropping the submissions off at my home, which really irked me.
They should put them in your letterbox if they were asked to.
So, well, why were they asked to?
I asked them to,
Well, why didn't you?
because you're determined what the board normally.
I think it was pretty unfair that you didn't let me know that was happening.
Okay, I should have, sorry, I apologise for that.
8 o'clock on Sunday night, you'd get up with 8.
I've been away all day.
Those submissions were solicited by you as a board member.
Yes, they were
Take
solicited. I take responsibility for that, and you know, we want to get people absolutely engaged in the council process. People were angry, they were upset, a lot of the older people were quite frightened, and you know, again, they have every right to be prompted into working in.
So there's two issues still. One, there was a process that needed to be followed.
Which process was that? No?
The process that they were to lodge their own submissions.
They lodged, everybody
And
lodged
they
their own.
could lodge them here at this office
Yeah.
until close of
People
business on
did.
Friday.
Yeah, and people did.
And they could have lodged them online. I did not need to receive those submissions at my home on Sunday night.
Okay. Well, people thought that you were fully engaged in the process, and they thought it was a good thing.
I was fully engaged in the process, but it did not need to become a personal issue for me. And
It wasn't
at your
supposed to be a
invitation,
personal,
by the
and
way.
it wasn't at my invitation. I could drop them off if you cannot get to the service centre in
That's at
time.
your invitation,
Okay, I said, just pop them into Norm's
not mine.
letterbox. Yeah, and that's what I said, pop
Totally
them into
unacceptable
Lord's.
behaviour.
No, it's not.
It
They're
is.
asking somebody to put something in your
Absolutely,
letterbox.
I
It's not.
absolutely agree with the chair. To send people to somebody's personal home is an
I asked them
appalling
to,
action by a community board
I
member.
asked them
I
to
know- I
put them
know
in the
that.
letterbox.
It's
Okay.
appalling.
Okay, I'm happy
Beyond-
to be
beyond
appalling
that.
if it means working for the community. Our community is getting really screwed over with this 33% rate.
He had other options to deal with that. The issue of sending somebody to somebody's house, an elected member's house, is absolutely
It's
beyond
a member of
played
the
by an elected
community.
member. It's his home.
Just for clarity as well, we do accept submissions very early on the day after, and we were still accepting submission through the office here or through any other.
Well, I didn't know that. It had cut off 26th, and I said to people, if you cannot make it to the service centre or do it online, pop it into Norman's letterbox. I didn't ask them to go to your back door. I didn't
Well,
ask
you
them
came
to
to my
engage.
back door.
I did, but then I'm part of the community board.
I suppose just from a staff perspective and from receiving those submissions, simply email myself or one of the others handling the process would have been able to verify that for you as well.
I didn't know that. You know, you can't act on information you don't know.
So therein lies my chief's report. Move that we accept that report. Can I have a second, please?
I've seen it.
Thank you, Russell. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against say no.
No. Yes, please.
Members' reports. Russell?
Well, I've sort of already given mine, but the community garden is quite an asset for people without much money, because they sell vegetables at cost, which is usually a bit less than half of what you would pay in the supermarket. And that's advantaging the people who take care to go there. There's also a community chat group, which is basically where I go. I don't do much gardening at all, to be honest. But we get community board, community people that are transgressed and, they've got a community sentence, we get them to do the hard work, so we get some young guys on the end of a spade and away they go. We've actually got a digger that actually operates quite well, and I think it's a good facility to have. There are community gardens all over the place. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, but since I've been a member, I've abandoned my garden completely. I don't have a vegetable garden anymore, apart from growing a few tomatoes in my tomato house. So it's quite a helpful little place.
How does it do financially?
We've got about 1,000 in the bank, I think, 1,200 or something. Yeah.
It funds itself to,
Yeah, well, we've got to buy seeds in, of course, and then there's water costs, and I think we pay a percentage of rates too. Do we? I don't know.
I think you do, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a few costs, but it covers itself, and we do an annual trip to another community garden. Yeah, the organisation I have not had anything to do with is Teviot Prospects, and I presume they're a force for good, but I don't know really what they do. Does anyone here know?
Mark and Sally both sit on Prospect. Sally is the board's representative,
Oh, right. Oh.
and Mark is a member in his own right.
But what do they actually do?
That would be, excuse me, that would be a question to ask when they are both sitting at the table or in discussion of members time.
Yeah.
But it's a very good question, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Russell. Jill?
I didn't go to the last medical board meeting because I had another meeting to go, but that was just about the after hours care. So basically the biggest thing probably was being outside Super Valley for 3 days and getting people engaged in the process of putting submissions to council and to making them feel that their voice may be heard. And that took up quite a bit of time. But I was happy to do it.
So are you doing that as a community board member?
No, I did that off my own back because I was waiting for the community board to make a statement about something and nothing was forthcoming. So I left it for a couple of weeks and then realised when the community board wasn't going to stand up for the people that are going to be hit really hard by the rates rise. I did
That's
it off my own back. No. So yes, it's off my own back to get people engaged in the council process, within council's own processes. I mean, we had 59 submissions, we put in many, Toto had 4.
7.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
So people were encouraged to work within the system.
We have to move that those be accepted. I move that we accept the members' reports. Have a seconder, please.
That all of them together in one bundle or? Because
This members.
I
Two.
Okay, oh, yeah, I'll second that.
All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Carried. Status reports. 4.8. Now, I've got to admit that technology has beaten me. And I had notes scribed in my status reports. Because I had a couple of questions, I was just quickly look at what we've got. It's just and we discussed this in the members' own time. Where are we at with the cemetery? It's 21.9.3.
Cemetery one. The Rockford Cemetery.
Yeah, I think we're still currently waiting for, can't find a bit of title on that.
The latest
But-
subject.
Yeah, so I
It's
do,
on page 33.
yeah, we are, yeah.
Still awaiting scripted title and still had a question around ownership of the cemetery in the members only time, and it was relating to does council own the cemetery?
It's there, now I can't find it.
Page 33.
Never, no, the actual wording was the transfer of ownership, so. So with the transfer of ownership, is that a land title transfer or, so who had the cemetery first? Who owned it?
Oh, going back
Yeah.
years. Oh, you.
So it would have been a borough, it would have been a borough thing, so it would have been public.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so when ownership is transferred, what does that mean? Council then has control and charges its fees and bits and pieces for burials and stuff,
yeah.
or is it a land transfer of that parcel of land that's actually completely?
You're really pushing on this issue. It'd be the transfer of title into the council's, to the CODC name is how that works. And then from a fees and charges, that obviously sits into what is approved by council when it comes to burials, plots and things like that. And then the maintenance sits within our contract. So.
So you own the title of the land.
Yeah.
So we just sort of like gave you that acreage.
I guess so, as it's gone through the process, yeah.
As I understood it, it was coming under council control. I didn't realise that we were actually transferring that entire block of land for no return.
Well, I guess the statement putting it wrong, maybe I'll take that away and confirm that, but as far as I'm aware, the titles come over into council ownership, but as far as what happened to that.
So what happened with the extra cemetery, because I'd actually like to do a revocation on that, because that whole process was wrong.
Was that?
We took the vote before Russell Marsh spoke about it. Nobody at Ettrick knew what was happening. Nobody within that community had any say in that at all, and they should have.
Yeah.
You know, and to suddenly just hand over as a title and as a block of land that has got value and worth,
Yeah.
to suddenly just hand it over to another entity is, in my book, probably not good.
That's an issue for the cemetery trust.
The Ettrick Cemetery Trust is virtually being disbanded. That's what
That's not what we were told.
That's what Russell was here for, was to, because the trust was half of them were dead. And they didn't want to run it anymore, and so we did a vote on the cemetery before Russell had even spoken and put his case forward. He didn't put that,
That's not a matter for the board.
but it should be a matter for the board because it's our area.
Well, I guess this board voted on that as well.
Yeah.
We did, but it was back to front. The whole thing was back to front. We voted before we listened to Russell.
Right.
And one of our members knew that Russell was coming to speak about this. And we said there was, you know, yeah, and then we took the whole thing without listening to Russell first.
Right.
And I think that procedure was wrong,
Yeah.
you know, so I'd like to revisit that, and I'd like people of Ettrick to have to say about whether they just suddenly hand over a nice parcel of land to the council.
So you're saying that we took a decision before the report was made?
Actually, Russell was speaking at public forum, he arrived late, so we already heard the paper, we just didn't hear him. I think that permission of the meeting, he was allowed to speak outside more public.
That's right, yeah, and
So he
we
was going to
took
take,
the report as it was delivered, assuming that
after we'd taken the vote.
we took the report, that was Russell's verbal report. There was a report delivered as part of the agenda, am I right?
Yeah.
And we considered that and took it on face value that the trust had submitted to council or CODC for that to happen. So the responsibility still lies with the trust, am I right? We took the decision based on what we were told.
Yeah,
trust.
essentially,
Yeah, so I know.
And so Russell's verbal report was only supporting what had
Yes,
been
but-
given to council.
We never had the opportunity to ask Russell questions because the vote had already been done. If he had been speaking in his time, like but because he was late, we progressed with things and then by the time Russell spoke, it was too late to ask him anything anyway.
If I can, Mr. Chairman, I'm on the report now. So the current trustees at that time, November 23, were Brian Marsh, Richard Turner, Robert Atchison, Brian Pringle, Quinton Pringle, Alan Turner, Mark Darling and John Deans. And they voted unanimously in September 23 to wind up the Ettrick Cemetery Trust and hand controlled day-to-day administration with the CODC. So when you've got 7 people, is it 8 people who are the trustees who are doing the job saying we're out of it?
Well, Dick Deans is dead and quite a few of those people were dead, so they couldn't have made that decision.
There's only 2 of them.
Well, regardless, there was unanimous of the people who were
But again,
running the cemetery.
nobody in Ettrick knew about it. Nobody in Ettrick was consulted on that.
Well, they need to take it up with the trust.
Yeah.
The
note.
I mean, if you feel strongly about it, you can do that outside the community. Community board has voted and acted on a request by the trust with the appropriate supporting documentation, I would suggest.
Yeah.
And so there's no more
So
discussion for us to be had
but
about it.
I didn't realise that, we were handing over a title to a parcel of land. I thought it was control as far as the rates and digging and what you do in cemeteries.
As I say, you need to take it up with the trust.
I'll do that.
Just going back to the top of the list. Around the grants applications. And it's just reminded me of the next round of grant applications is closing shortly.
Will open shortly.
Will open shortly, isn't it?
For assessment in the August, September period and decision September, October.
Yeah.
Just depending on when the cycles meet. So yes, if you know of anyone else in the community seeking support for community or promotions grants, let them know.
Anyone else got any questions around?
Just want to pick up on, if that's right, so with yours, Jill, just on the title, the transfer of the land and the ownership. Because what you agreed was the administration, the management and operation of the cemetery here. It doesn't talk about the transfer of title in the resolution. I just want to make sure we don't put the word wrong here. Apologies, I haven't got all the detail.
Oh, no, that's okay. I don't expect you to carry everything in your head. Where was that? No, I just read that in our members' time about the ownership, transfer of ownership. And that was the wording,
That was related to the
Roxburgh Cemetery.
Because the Roxburgh Cemetery is an interesting one, where part of the land is council and
And then
part of it is.
yeah.
Part of Dot or something.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and that's what
Good
we're
luck with
working. Yeah, and that's what we're working with them on as well. I just think there's the interest of not.
I think it would be useful, Mr. Chairman, perhaps if you or yourself, David, could get the history of the title, because I suspect the title's not in terms of what the November is. It's not part of it whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was who's going to do. Council was already doing the work on maintaining the cemetery. So I don't think there's actually that much to this. But if the concern of the community is that the land was handed over, as opposed to the responsibility of managing the cemetery, which are 2 very distinct things, then we need to get the background and find out whether that is actually relevant and correct.
So you're talking about the Ettrick one?
Yeah, just to meet Jill's concerns that the community board handed the land over, which the community board can't actually do.
Yeah.
So do you mind linking that with staff, and I'll make them personally come back on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
really good.
That's great.
I'd hate for any misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just the
Get on
wording.
Public space.
It was just the wording and that it was concerning the Roxburgh Cemetery. This wording was the transfer of ownership.
So for clarity, it's Roxbury.
Yes, that's
Okay.
the Roxburgh one.
So the Ettrick issue is not an issue? But
I think it still needs to be spoken about with the people.
So that's what David, Tim has just suggested, David, to follow up for you.
Which would be
Thank
cool.
you.
And
Appreciate
I
that.
appreciate that too.
Okay, so I just move that the status report be received.
Second that.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Those against, say nay. Carried. I believe just need to set the date for the next meeting.
First of all,
1st of August.
Is the old time. Will I declare this meeting closed? Thank you one and all for your attendance.
Fine.